Um, so English spelling of the sound of k at the beginning of a word, there's two ways to do it, either with a C or a K. And the most common way of spelling that is with the letter C, like 4 times more common than a K. The only time we use a K at the beginning of a one syllable or multi-syllable word is when the vowel is I, E, or Y. Because this, if you have an I, E, or Y right after a C, it always is going to say S, because C can say two sounds, K or S, K or S. And it depends on what letter comes after it, how you spell it. And that is something that we're going to get deep into, spelling patterns, starting next week. Okay, but that's how you want to handle it. And I will say that if you look in our text and you look up the letter C, the spelling pattern C, you'll get even more information about it. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So what's happening is that I have to teach you guys almost like in a sequence. First, how do you do the consonants and the vowels, and how do you handle mistakes when they come up with the consonants and vowels? And then we talk about assessment in the second week. And then last week we talked about phonemic awareness. But the truth of the matter is, once you get this body of information into your understanding, when you do lessons, what's going to happen is you're going to use all of those elements in a unit of learning. So today, what we're going to be talking about is reading and spelling of individual words and how that plays out in your lessons and working with students. Next week, we'll talk about the one syllable spelling patterns, and then we'll go into multi-syllable and morphology and etymology and fluency. Okay? Any other questions from working with your students? Oh, I know. One of the things that I wanted to know, Ramsey, how old is Martinez?
A little embarrassing, but
What?
I kind of forgot.
Is he in elementary school or in middle
I
school or
know
high school?
he is homeschooled by his mother.
Okay.
I believe he's a little bit behind.
Okay.
I know he's a preteen age, but
Oh, okay. That's good enough. Okay. It was just it mattered because of the length of words that you were giving him in your work with him, and that's why I asked that question. Okay.
got it.
Okay. Okay. So let me share screen and let's get started here with this week's learning. What I was trying to do is I was trying to say, and I don't know if anybody is more knowledgeable about PowerPoint than I, but I was trying to share and have you see just my slides, but I don't know how to do it. I'm going to stop one minute here, and I'm going to put it in one
Push
other
F5.
thing. I'm sorry, what?
F5 at the top of your keyboard should do it.
Number 5?
F5. There's a function 5 key at the top. You have any function keys?
I'm on a Mac. Does that
well,
mean? Does that matter?
That's different.
It should still try. It should still be F5 even on a Mac.
Oh, okay. Now I have to share and see then. See, I don't know how to share now. Okay. And you're not seeing my screen at all now, are you? Except, no. Okay, we're stopping. I wish I were more adept at knowing how to do this, but I'll find it out because I'll Google it tomorrow. Okay. Here's where we begin. Now you can see my screen, right? My slides?
Yeah.
Okay. And I get to see you because now I'm home and I can see all of the faces and my PowerPoint simultaneously. So tonight, what we're going to be working with is we're going to talk about reading and spelling of individual words, and also about fluency, reading accurately with the right amount of speed, which is not hyperspeed, and how to lace that into everything that we do. Those are the two things this week that I'd like to talk about. And I want to define some words here for you. I'm using tonight Catherine Pace Miles' definition of high frequency words. High frequency words are the words that are the most common in running text for all the grade levels. But the way that she explains them and defines them, these high frequency words, I think we can use for all words that you teach kids to spell. So she has three categories of high frequency words. One is decodable. A decodable word means that every letter in that word is the common spelling of that sound letter relationship. So the word sat would be a decodable word because the most common spelling of s is S, the most common and only spelling of a is a, and the only spelling of our spelling of t is t. So that's a completely decodable word. And if you've taught your students those particular consonants and vowel, then that's a word, if you strengthen and build their phonemic awareness, that they should be able to read and spell with a high degree of accuracy. The second category that Catherine Pace Miles uses is temporarily not transparent. So what that means is, if you haven't taught your students the vowel plus E or R controlled vowels or the C rule, then those words temporarily, until you teach them, are not transparent, they're opaque. And then those are rule-bound words, words that have certain rules of spelling patterns inside of them. And then she speaks about the permanently opaque words. And those are words that, if we use the history of the word and look at some patterns of how that word evolved and the morphemes, we can understand the spelling, but there's not a one-to-one correspondence with the pronunciation. So a good example of that is the word sign, S-I-G-N, right? The S is fair. It's saying the sound you expect. The N is fair, but that IG doesn't seem to make much sense, does it? It's not a pattern that we see. We have IGH, but IG making that sound is not really a common thing today in our language. But if you look at the history and other words that have a similar base, like the word signature, you can hear the G, and it's related in meaning of the base word, not in the pronunciation. So here's where things get pretty interesting with spelling and morphology and etymology. So those are some of the things that we're going to be looking at in the next couple of, well, probably for the rest of class. So, so the next thing is, the first thing we're going to do is look at fluency. Whenever we learn something, we have to use all the different parts of our cortex. We have to say, oh, I have to think through each step really, really carefully, and I have to be conscious about it. One thing is, if you can remember when you first drove a car, When you got in the car, you had to make sure your seat was in the right height. You had to put your foot on the brake. You had to adjust all of the mirrors. You had to find the right key, put the key in, keep your foot on the brake, and make sure the car was in neutral, and then turn the key on, and then put the gear into reverse or forward, and then you could take your foot off the brake and slowly but surely accelerate. Now you jump into the car and you don't even think of those things consciously, right? That's the same kind of skill set that is with anything that we learn. When you learn something for the first time, it takes a lot of higher outer cortex learning. And when you become more and more adept at it, you literally become, the connections between the neurons start to wire together as they fire together. So that's the definition of fluency. When our students first learn the consonants and vowels, they have to really think about the circuitry in the left hemisphere between all of the different parts of the brain. But as those different neurons fire together, they start to wire together, make literal connections. Our brain becomes denser, and the firing between those neurons happens faster and faster, which is why you can sit down and read, and you don't have to look at. You do have to look. This is interesting. You do have to look at all the letters, but you process it so quickly that you can move through the words accurately and efficiently and quickly. That's what fluency is. Some students really need to practice in order to get to, well, all students do, to get to that accurate, effortless reading of words. So reading fluency allows us to take that, to almost narrow how much energy it takes to read. And then we have more energy, mental energy, to pay attention to understanding. And when students can do that kind of reading, then they like to read. It's not too hard. So how do we teach that? I'm going to stop, and I'm not happy with how my slides are being moved forward today. Sorry, guys. Okay, there it is. Okay.
Also, too, I figured out how to make it big.
How?
So you push command, shift,
Yes.
and return.
Command, shift, and return.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Let's see if I can move forward. And you guys are seeing it, right?
Not yet. Oh, you want to do both on the same screen?
I want to be able to share it with you.
Yeah, you have to have two screens connected to your single computer.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okie dokie. We'll just do this way. Thank you, though. And you'll email me so I can do that when I'm presenting in person, eh?
Yeah, of course. That just hit me up.
It's a different thing when you're in person. Okay, now you can see my screen, eh? Okay, so every element that we've worked with on in the last 3 weeks needs to be reinforced and practiced for your students to become automatic and fluent in their knowledge of letters, sounds, and words, and phonemic awareness. Some of you, when you did your practicum, said, oh, when we began doing segmenting, it was more challenging, but after we talked about it and we worked through it, the person I was working with got more and more fluent in their execution. That's what was happening. We have to learn how to do something and practice it enough to be really accurate and effortless at it. So in the research about fluency, what we find is that what we want our students to do is we want them to have reasonable accuracy. 95 to 97% accuracy is what is reasonable. And I'm going to show you that very graphically in a moment. How appropriate rate is really important, so that many times what has fluency has been misinterpreted to mean that we want our students to read really, 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 really fast. And that is not appropriate rate. So there are two researchers, Hasbrook and Tyndall, and they have been working in this area and doing excellent research for years. And every so often they put out a set of norms of what you should expect students to be able to do at different grade levels. This is their most recent set of norms. So you can see that on the left of this slide, it says grades, and then it's got percentiles, 90, 75, 50, 25, 10. And what Tyndall and Hasbrook are saying, an appropriate rate is 50th percentile. So for first graders, in the winter, that's 29 words correct per minute. And in the spring, it doubles to 60 words per minute. What we want to see in second grade is our students reading 84 to 100 words correct out loud per minute. And it goes up to sixth grade, where we want to see them reading 145 to 146 words correct per minute. But we don't want them to sound like this, going really fast, because if they're going really fast, they are not understanding what they're reading. So it's very high accuracy, it's at an appropriate rate, and the third element of fluently reading is to use good expression, to sound like oral speech. And that's stressing different words, phrasing different words, having our voice go up at the beginning of a declarative sentence and down for a question. So it's really teaching our students to not read like robots. We at this point are not at the level in which we're going to deal with good expression, but what we are going to be dealing with is accuracy, rate, and then the fourth element is self-awareness. Do our students know when they make a mistake? Because if they don't know when they make a mistake, how are they going to start to correct themselves, right? So what we want to do is teach each of these specific skills very carefully in sequences till our students are masterful at them. So when our students are reading words, letters, we want them to know the letters and the sounds. We want them to know words. We want them to know spelling patterns, syllable types, and prefixes, suffixes, and roots. In every element of reading, we want our students to be fluent. We need to teach them the skills first. We need to teach them accuracy, rate, and self-monitoring with these individual letters, syllables, or words. So here's a really interesting thing. This is a passage in which 20% of the words have been omitted. So if I ask my students to read with 80% accuracy, this is how many words they will not be able to read in that passage. That's a whole lot, isn't it? How can they understand if there's that many words in a short passage that they are not able to read accurately? As opposed to, here is a passage with 95% accuracy. And you can see that there's 5 words in this 100 words that they're not able to read. So do you see why my goal for my students is always that they read at 95 to 97% accuracy? Yeah, we all make mistakes when we're reading, but if you're making more than 5 mistakes in a paragraph of 100 words, you're not going to understand what you're reading. So accuracy is our first goal and our first area to work with our students on. Appropriate rate means that some of the time we can kind of chug along and read really quickly, or we can read at a medium speed, or we may have to read really slowly. It depends on what we're reading and trying to understand. So if I'm reading a novel and I'm really into it, I'm reading really fast. But if I'm reading a textbook about morphology or etymology, I'm reading really slow and maybe rereading. And appropriate means that our students know when they can read quickly, medium, or when they have to go slowly. So one of the things that we're going to be working with this week are called rapid automatic naming exercises. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about how we evaluate phonological processing, beginning of last week. One of the tasks was what you now know. Can I segment a word? Can I blend a word? Can I isolate sounds? Can I do a chain? That's part of that test. The second part of that test is how accurately and rapidly you can say the names of letters or numbers. I tested a young girl a couple of weeks ago. Her phonemic awareness skills were in the average range. Her rapid automatic naming was less than 5th percentile. What that means is she reads really, really slowly. And unless we can strengthen her rate of reading, it's going to be laborious, it's going to be difficult to comprehend, and she's not going to want to read really very much at all. So we want to teach our students how to read accurately, but increase their speed to the 50th percentile based on Hasbrook and Tyndall's research. We want to have an idea of how quickly our students read individual words per minute correctly and words. And that's something that this week, it would be really interesting for you to find out of the letters that you have taught your students, making an array of about 50 letters and then timing them for a minute and seeing how accurate they are will give you a sense of how fluent they are with reading individual letters, consonants and vowels. You can only put consonants and vowels in that they know already. You can't spring it on them, okay? So that's something that I really would like you to do with your students. When you're doing these rapid automatic naming exercises, your students shouldn't be making more than 1 or 2 letter mistakes, because that's 95% accuracy. The other element that's part of teaching fluency is teaching our students to self-monitor. And there's specific steps in this, and we're going to work with them. And I'd like you to work with your students about them. So one of the first step is to teach them about the kinds of mistakes that all people in the universe make when reading. And you know these already, and they should sound familiar. Additions, deletions or omissions, substitutions, repetitions, and shifts. Those are what we teach when we teach phonemic awareness, aren't they? Those are also the kinds of mistakes our students make when they misread a word. So we want our students to be aware of that when they are doing phonemic awareness, when they are reading letters or spelling letters, when they're reading words or spelling words. The second part of teaching self-monitoring is to work with our students to make them aware of the kinds of mistakes, the particular mistakes that they are making. And quite a number of you, when you described what working with your students, what you said is, oh, I saw that my student made this mistake. Like one person, and I can't remember who it is now, but said that when the student could not see their mouth, they had a much harder time doing substitutions, doing additions and omissions. And so we want our students to become aware of the types of mistakes so that they can then learn how to self-correct. And there's an idea, it's called scaffolding. Has anybody heard of that educational term before, scaffolding? Cassie, what does it mean?
Scaffolding, from what I remember, it's kind of like working with kids to their zones of it's kind of like, okay, it's like, yeah, working with their zones of where don't push them too hard to where they quit, but don't make it too easy. But you ask them questions, scaffold their learning to push their learning forward.
Exactly. So one of the things, and so one of the things that I think of when I think of this is I think of a mathematical grid where there's who's in charge, the teacher or the student, over time. So at the beginning of learning, the teacher holds most of the responsibility for learning, and the student is the receiver and is answering questions. By the time our students become fluent and automatic with a particular skill, that reverses. The student is responsible for understanding it, and the teacher has to do very little. So it's that back and forth, and how much do we hold up and support the learning? At the beginning, we hold the knowledge and we're teaching our students, but eventually we want to drift away from us being responsible for all of the answers and the questions, and our students being better at that. So the way to do this with self-monitoring is that when a student initially is learning self-monitoring, every time that they make a mistake, you want to stop and talk about it. Was this it? You said this. We've spoken about how to deal with errors before. You added a sound here. When you said this, you omitted or substituted da 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 da. Then after they have learned these types of errors, one of the things that you can do is literally, as they're reading, you can put your hand above the words, and when they make a mistake, you stop. That's your student's signal to think about what they just said and look at the word carefully and self-correct. The third part of scaffolding mistakes with our students is having them literally read and record their own reading and then listening to it and correcting their own mistakes. Eventually, what we want them to be doing is when they're reading and they make a mistake, they hear it, they catch themselves. Oh, this doesn't make sense. And they correct themselves. This is a really important part of teaching our students to read and write and spell. We already talked about this chart. There's a quote here from Rosinski: if readers are able to recognize words in text automatically, it follows they will be able to read at a faster pace. So until they learn accuracy and really understand the concepts, then we don't want to go even at 50th percentile norms. That's our goal, but not where we start. So how do we do all this? How we do this is showing our students what we want them to do, explaining clearly the task that we're doing, why we're working on this and why it's worth their effort and their attention. And then how do you do this activity? And one of the things that I like to do is called step cards. a step card is just a piece of paper or a 3x5 card or whatever kind of thing you could write on, which says, this is the first thing you do. This is the second thing you do. This is the third when doing this task. So if I were going to be writing a step card for spelling a word, the first thing that I would ask my students to write down as their first step is listen to the word carefully. The second thing would be to repeat that word. The third thing would be to segment that word. The fourth thing would be to write a letter for each sound of the word. And the fifth thing would be check if there's a spelling pattern you have to use, and then read the word so you know that you did it correctly. That would be a step card for spelling a word. If I were wanting to write a step card for reading a word, I would say, look at the word from the beginning to the end and know that every letter must have some relationship to sound. If you can't read it quickly and you're really having a hard time with it, find the vowel, say the vowel, sing the vowel, add the ending sound to it. Once you can say the vowel and the sounds at the end of the word, add the beginning sounds. Now say the word as a whole word. That would be a step card for reading. Okay. Now, here is an example of a rapid automatic naming task. And this would be for a student that I've taught the single vowels, the single consonants, consonant digraphs, vowel plus R, like A-R, I-R, E-R, U-R, O-R, vowel plus E, and also some other digraphs, okay? This is a very sophisticated upper level rapid automatic naming test that I'm giving to you, okay? Does anybody have a question about how any of these letters sound? Or do you got them all? Look carefully, because I'll tell you the sounds if you're not sure of it. Because you're going to be using this with partners.
Could you differentiate between WH and just W by itself?
I do, but in American English, few do. Okay.
Yeah.
My pronunciation of WH is and it's unvoiced. My pronunciation of W is w and it's voiced.
Okay.
Okay. So, if you have not printed out the notes from tonight, take a screenshot of this because you're going to be using it with a partner. Everybody got it? Okay. So I'm going to show you another one. This is a rapid automatic naming task that you could use with the students that you're working with because it's all single vowels. Okay. And what you do is you have them read this. And when you're working with your student, you would put the date on it. You would talk about accuracy. So let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So there's 44 letters on here, 44 responses. So if they got 8 out of 44, I divide 8 out of 44 incorrect. I divide 44 into 8, and that would give me my percentage of accuracy. For right now, I'd like you to only have your students using a rapid automatic naming task for 1 minute and see what their rate and accuracy is for 1 minute. So yes, you should use this with your students this week, or you can make one yourself that also has the consonants that you've also taught. Okay? And it will be really interesting to know how many words correct per minute they can read this week. So here's some things that when you work with your partner, you should take a screenshot of this also, guys, because we're going to use those 2 slides. There's different ways to use a sheet like this or this. One of the things that you can do is you can say, I only want you to read the red letters. I only want you to read the blue letters. I only want you to read the green letters. I want you to read every other letter. I want you to read across. I want you to read down. So you can use the same rapid automatic naming list many different ways, okay? Because you will have really smart kids who will memorize rapid automatic naming tasks. So this is some ways for you. You can have them read from the top down. You can have them read from the bottom row up. You can tell them that you want to hear all of the possible sounds or only one sound of each consonant or vowel. You can ask them to only read the single vowels. You can ask them to find only the vowel plus E. You could say, read only the voiced consonants, read only the unvoiced consonants. You can ask them to say the names of the letters, or if you have words with spelling rules, you can have them tell you the spelling rules. If you had a list of different syllable types, you could ask them to name the syllable types or read the syllables. You could say, is this a prefix, a suffix, or a base word? You can have them read the names or the sounds aloud. There's lots of ways to use this. Okay, so this is what I would like you to do. Let's see, how many people do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're going to have 7 rooms. I'm going to be dropping into the rooms today. I would like you to use both of these RAN exercises, and I would like you to have your partner read them aloud. And I want you to see in 1 minute how many they can read. And I want you to do it in several different ways, reading from the top down, the bottom up, every other, whatever it is that you want to torture your partner with. Any questions? Everybody got the pages so that you can use them once I stop sharing? Okay. We're going to go into breakout rooms, and we're going to have 7 rooms, and create. Okay, Russ Hannon is not going to be in room 1 with you guys. So everybody has a partner. 10 minutes. Do as many of the different RAN exercises, and you can be very precise with your students' mistakes. How many words per minute did they, or letters per minute did they read? How accurate were they? And also what kinds of mistakes. So try and make mistakes for your partner, okay? Any questions? Go for it. Okay.
I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Hello.
There she is.
It is crazy to me that the school library does not have very good Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that is. Okay. So
I have my timer ready if you would like to go first.
yeah, am I starting on the one with the colored or the one below with the just
I have the colored one right now.
okay.
And I was gonna have you maybe just start with the red ones.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
So the red ones at first.
Yeah, and you can go whenever you're ready.
Okay. So we're doing the letter sounds, right?
Yes.
Okay. So a, b, k, d, e, f, qu, s, t, a, th, w, w, or w, a, uh, a, and then I, ear, what, ooh, or o, wait, or ooh, and then wa, ow, or.
Okay, that was 40 seconds exactly.
So what feedback are you going to give your partner?
I would first say really good job. You moved through those like at a very consistent pace. There wasn't a lot of stopping and stalling. I counted your mistakes and I believe I counted two of them, maybe three of them. The red line on the bottom, was even a little difficult for me to read along
So what I'm
as you were
going to
doing.
do also, and I should have said this to everyone, is the best way to do this if you're doing this with a student is your student has a copy and you have a copy and you write on the copy what the
Okay,
mistakes are. That will make life much easier. Okay.
that
I'm
makes
gonna,
that that's a good tip.
yeah,
Yeah.
that will make life much easier. I'm going to read that last line. So EA says E, EY says E, IE says I, IR says OE says O. Very correctly, Madeline, you said or oo. OA says O. OW says O or ow, and OR says or. AU says,
Could you also, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna ask you to read the bottom light blue line
Yeah,
as
I'm
well.
going to. I realize that
Okay,
too. Okay,
thank you.
good. So AU says aw, AW says aw, OW says ow, OWL says owl, AWL says all, UR says and UE says you or oo. Okay? Which is why I asked everybody if they wanted me to pronounce those before they started. Oh, but no.
Thank you.
Okay. So, couple of things that we learned by doing this, that you have to know the sounds yourself, and that if you should have two copies, and it's really good to have a copy that you can keep your notes on. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
So go back and do that. Keep doing it a different way. I'm going to go and help other people in another room.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Uh-huh. Okay. So Ramsey, who did you work with?
I apologize. I totally forgot their name.
Oh, that's okay. It was Logan. It was Logan. So
Okay.
did you guys have any questions or any comments from doing this?
Yeah, I got a few. So for some of the sounds on the table, it was two vowel sounds and they would just be directly next to each other. And then for some, they would have a hyphen in the middle. Whoop.
Right. Oh, good question. So what I should do is I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to talk about all that. Thank you for asking that, Ramsey. So we need to move this up. Okay. So on the third row, you see A/E. So with vowel plus E, usually there is a consonant between the single vowel and that and that E, and that's why there's a hyphen there. So AE says A. And EE sometimes can have a hyphen, and sometimes it can sit together, like in the word feet or beef. Most of the time it has a hyphen though, okay? Now, and those are the vowel plus E. And the rule is, just to preview to you, when you have a single vowel followed by a consonant sound and then an E, that E's job linguistically is to make the vowel before it, the single vowel, say its letter name or its long sound. When you have a single vowel and an R right after it, that single vowel changes, that R changes the single vowel sound. So AR says R, OR says or, IR, UR, and ER all say When you have AIAY, they both say A. When you have EAEY, they both say E. When you have OAOW, it says O. When you have two O's, you guys know this, you've taught this, you can say oo or AUAW says aw. OUOW says ow. Owl, all. Okay? So that's why I said to you guys, oh, should I pronounce these for you? Because I haven't taught them to you yet. Okay. Another thing that I realized in my directions is that when you're giving this to a student, you should have 2 copies of the RAN worksheet, one for your student to look at and one for you to look at, so that when they are doing this and your timer is going, you can pay attention to and mark down the kinds of mistakes they make, and then you'll be able to analyze it. Okay? So one of the things that I want you to do with your students is you can use this page to see how much they have internalized the single vowels, or you can do all of the consonants and all of the vowels that you've taught your students and make up your own rapid automatic naming sheet. So what we're looking for is, do our students, can they recognize these letters efficiently, but with a high degree, 95 to 97% accuracy? Any questions about this? Can someone summarize what you do with a rapid automatic naming exercise, please? Megan, can you do it for me?
What was your question again? I'm sorry.
My question was, so this week when you're working with your student, first of all, why would you do a fluency activity like this, a rapid automatic naming? Why would you do that?
I mean, I think it kind of helps you gauge where they are throughout the lesson, to refresh, and then also to maybe also see other issues, like you were talking about the reading, like reading words. I think for me, I was thinking about the timer and I was kind of going fast, and I know that I'm a slow reader. And I think that kind of can help give you a gauge on your student as well. I mean, that's just my opinion, just based off my personal experience.
And I
know
think you're
how
quite accurate. I think
Okay.
you're quite accurate. And what you bring up is your own, this is how I'm reacting to the timer. I have this image in my mind of how fluent a reader I am. And is that holding me back, or am I letting it go, right? Because that's an important thing. Okay, Chanel. We talked about rate. Why else would you use this kind of rapid automatic naming exercise with your students?
You could see like the ones that they're having trouble, like when they look at it, if they're not saying the name of the letter or the sound quickly, they might be struggling with that letter, and you could spend more time on it. Or if there's other ones that they're saying right away, then you know that they've kind of got that down and that it doesn't need to be practiced quite as much.
Exactly. So being diagnostic, eh? Exactly. So that's the whole idea here. It's saying, if my student can do this accurately and then also do it at a reasonable rate, then I know they're driving it to automaticity. They're able to see the letter and know the sound, see the letter and know the name. And that's what we need to know. And we need to do it on a couple of different occasions because they might be having a bad hair day, right? So every time that you are working with your students from now on, one of the things that you should be doing is a RAN activity. You can do it with the letters that you've taught them. You can do it with, you can look at it not in the same way of timing it for 1 minute, but you can also say, when I do segmenting or blending or isolating or do a chain, are they going really, really slow, or are they more automatic with it? So looking at that and saying that will really help you to know where your students are. Okay. So let's see where we are. We are at 9 o'clock. We are going to take our 10-minute break, and then we're going to continue on with a couple more ideas about giving feedback to our students with Fluency. Okay, I'll put the timer on for 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, let's see where we are in our slides. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to do is to practice this idea of being aware of how you are reading. And one way, we spoke about it earlier here, is to teach our students the kinds of mistakes that can be made. Adding a sound or leaving out a sound, or substituting a sound that's Meg and she's barking and she shouldn't be, or shifting a sound or repeating it. And so we want to name those. And one of the things that I usually do with students is I don't say additions, I say add, sub, delete, repeat, shift, because 2 syllables are easier to say than 3. The other thing that I will do is I will take a sheet and I will make mistakes. And my students will stop me and tell me if I did something wrong. So we're going to practice that. So I'm going to read these words, and if I make a mistake, somebody has to raise their hand and tell me what kind of mistake I made. Are you guys ready? For my first word, the word is pads. Okay, Megan, what did I do?
You added an S at the end.
Exactly.
And I'm not quite sure if you even pronounced the D.
I did. I think I did. Probably might not. I hope I did. Okay. Next word, sit. Isabella.
You replaced the E or sound with I.
Exactly. I did a substitution, didn't I? The next word is stip. Madeline, what did I do? Stip.
You added an S sound to the beginning of the word.
Exactly. The next word is chep. Yes, Jose, what did I do?
You added a C. You substituted the SH for CH.
Exactly. Substituted was correct. Okay. Next word is ge. Chanel, what did I do?
Can you say that one again?
Ge.
All of that.
The word is G-E-T. Ge. What did I do wrong?
Oh, you didn't pronounce the T.
Yeah, I omitted the T at the end, didn't I? Okay. The next word is Josh. Josh. Jordan, what I do? Josh.
You substituted the G for a J.
Yes, and sometimes G does say J, doesn't it? Like in germ, or gyroscope, but it's because it has an I, E, or Y after it. Okay. Next word is stup. Cassie, what did I do?
You added a sound.
Where?
After the S, you put a T.
Exactly. Next word is tis. Tis. Mika, what did I do?
You substituted the.
Yes, I did. What did I substitute in the beginning, middle, or end?
The beginning.
Exactly. Thank you. Next word is chop. Who's not done any? Ramsey, chop.
Sorry, I was missing my button. So you switched the A to an O.
Exactly. And the next word is app. Who has, Brooklyn, app.
You omitted the T at the beginning.
Exactly. And now, Kayla, you haven't done one, right? Kayla, the last one is the word Mick.
Mick, so you substituted CK for the X.
Actually,
or a C?
It would be a C, and I left what I did is I left the S sound of the X out, because X says X, and so I left the S sound out. So I omitted a sound. Okay, so and what I did is I wrote down everything that I was going to do, because if I was to do that on the fly, I wouldn't remember what I did, and then I couldn't give you feedback. So now what I would like you to do is I would like you to work in partners, and I would like you to use this rapid automatic naming again. And I want you, before you work with your partner, to write down the mistakes you're going to make, just like I did. Like, below the letter or the word, I wrote down the mistake I was going to make. So write down your mistakes using this set of consonants and vowels again. And what I want you to do is I want you to, you could add a sound that isn't there. You could omit one of the sounds that's there. You could substitute one of the sounds, okay? So make all three of those different kinds of mistakes, and then give your partner, read it for your partner and see if they can pick up the mistake and name the mistake for you. Let's see. So that's exactly what I just did with you guys, but you're doing it with each other. Any questions about what to do? Okay, Brooklyn, tell them again what they're supposed to do.
We are each doing 3 mistakes. We're adding and omitting and subbing a sound.
3 kinds of mistakes. It might be more mistakes than that, but 3 types of mistakes. Yep. And you're going to write down the mistakes you're going to make, and then you're going to read them to your partner, and your partner is going to pick up what mistakes you make and what kinds of mistakes they are.
Okay? I have a question. Do you want the corrections after or during?
I think during. Okay. And if you wanted to do this, remember the different ways that you scaffold mistakes. Let's see where they are. Okay, so the scaffolding of mistakes is, all of you know the different kinds of mistakes. And then you stop, when you first do this, you stop every time that your student makes a mistake and talk about it. And then you could have your hand above where they're reading, and when they make a mistake, you just stop and see if they can self-correct. Okay? So for this exercise, do it with correcting each mistake. But when you're working with your students, see if you can move to that. Okay, 10 minutes. We're going to do this. And I will. Yes?
I have a question. So we're doing
Please,
like
Cassie.
the sounds. So are we adding extra sounds or like taking extra sounds out?
You could add extra sounds or you could take some out.
Okay, because you did them with the words, so I was confused. I'm like, if
actually,
it was like for H, what would you do? Like, I don't.
You could substitute. You could say, oh, that says ch.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Why don't we do this? Oh, I love this. Let's practice this together first, okay? I'm going to go back here. And I'm going to say some of the letters on the first row. I'm going to write it down for myself. And I'm going to make mistakes. And if you guys can catch me, it would be great. Okay. Okay, you ready? So you could write that first row down and write, instead of shouting out, write down when I make a mistake and what the mistake is, okay? Okay, ready? I'll try and say it as loudly as I can. I'm saying the sounds. A, B, K, D, M, E, F, V, H, E, Ch, K, U, M, N, O, P. Want me to do it again, or you got it? I did that fast, so I can read it again. Ready? A, B, K, D, M, E, F, V, H, E, Ch, K, U, M, N, O, P. Anybody hear a mistake? Mika, did you hear a mistake? You're laughing. I can't hear you.
I think at the very end for P, you added an at the end.
Exactly. So that's one of the mistakes I made. Who else heard a mistake? Yes, Jose.
The I sounded like an E.
Yes, it did. That was a mistake I made. Brooklyn.
I think you said the letter O instead of pronouncing O.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Anybody else catch a mistake? Jordan.
Yeah, you added the letter M.
Uh-huh.
I think
where?
I think it was after C.
Uh-huh, after D, but you're correct. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Cassie? No?
I got lost after the first row because I focused on the M so hard that I lost.
Okay, so do you see why it's really important to have a piece of paper that has the letters that your student is writing on? And you can also see that I had to write out my mistakes, or I never would have remembered what they were. Okay. So what we just did, I sometimes call catch the teacher making a mistake. And kids love to do that. But it also gets them to start to be attuned. So what I did is I substituted an E for an I. I added an M. I also added a V. I substituted CH for H. I substituted NG for N. Okay. And I said O instead of ah, and I said pa. Okay. So that's what I want you to do with your partner. So maybe one of the things that you should do is the first thing is write out a series of maybe 20 letters, both consonants and vowels, then decide what mistakes you're going to make, and give your partner a list of your 20 letters, so without the mistakes, so that they can listen to you and see if they can catch your mistakes. Okay? That's what I would like you to do with your partner. So make 2 copies of what you're going to read, give one to your partner, write your mistakes on the other one. Say it, see if your partner can catch, and then shift, you know, they'll be the student, you'll be the teacher. Any questions about what to do? Okay, let's go into rooms, and I will be coming into rooms with people as we go through. Jordan, who were you with last time? Okay. Okay. Ramsey, who were you with? Join with. I don't know. Megan, did you not have a room? Megan, did you not have a room?
I sent you a message. I had to log out and restart my whole computer. My internet was crashing.
Okay.
So I don't even know what you're doing. Everything is sound. I couldn't even tell what you were doing. I was like, I'm just going to restart the computer.
Okay. That's fine. So let's do this. Let's you and I work together, okay?
Okay.
So what everybody is doing is, and I hope Ramsey is in a room. He may be stuck too. Okay, so I want you to write a list of like 20 consonants and vowels, and then kind of dictate it to me. Okay.
They don't. Huh? They don't need to be in it. They don't need to be in any particular order.
Random.
Okay. Okay, I'll try.
Okay, okay, so just tell me your letters, just the names of the letters.
Okay. L M S T A E B Z U.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, now what you want to do is you need to decide, and don't tell me the mistakes you're going to make. Like, which ones are you going to make a mistake on? Are you going to add some sounds? You're going to omit some sounds? You're going to substitute some sounds. Okay, so do that and don't tell me.
Okay.
Okay, you got it? So now you're going to read your list with the mistakes, and I'm going to listen to it and then give you feedback about your mistakes, okay?
Okay.
Go ahead.
L M S T A E B B Z U.
Okay. So what I see is that you named the second letter or extended it, M. I think you said its name. And then instead of saying a, you substituted and said a. And instead of saying you said I. You added the sound on the B, and you put an E. You said the letter name instead of the sound for you. Okie dokie. Now I'm going to do the same for you.
Okay.
Okay, my letters are P, Z, J, S, H, A, O, C, H, and N, G.
Okay.
Okay, now I have to write my mistakes down. Okay, you ready, teacher?
Yes.
B, Z, J, V, A, O, Ch.
Okay. So it sounded like you said the B, like B for B instead of P, the P sound.
I substituted, and that's a pair. They're consonant pair, aren't they? Common mistake. Okay.
And then it sounded like you said the Z really long, but I'm not sure if it was just my.
I didn't intentionally do that. Okay.
Okay. And then for the sh sound, you did the th sound like so
Exactly.
TH. The O you said incorrectly.
Okay.
And then I think that's it, but I'm not positive.
Okay. So what I did for the NG is I said,
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's really sometimes with computers on Zoom, it's hard. And the only other thing is when I said J, I said ja.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. So you get the idea of that what we're trying to do is just be able to hear what our kids are doing so that we can be diagnostic with it, right? Right. And that's why sometimes what I do is I record my kids so I can listen to it repeatedly, especially with these old ears, and so this is really, really important stuff. Okay, I'm going to go just check on one other room, okay? And make sure everybody's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see if I know how to get out of here. Oh, no, I just joined. Okie dokie. Where did they go? Jordan, okay.
Single line. It felt bad because you had to sit there and just like meticulously try to fit it in the lines.
Oh no.
Okay.
Okay, how did you guys do? Jordan, did you have a partner to work with on the last exercise, or were you floating?
Yeah, no, I had James.
Oh, okay. So how did this go, guys?
It was good. It's definitely tricky. Like it's easier if we're doing it really like more slowly because it gives us time to like catch the mistakes. But yeah, it went well. We were able to catch them.
Good. Okay. So it's really a good diagnostic, isn't it? And I really want you to use it with your kids. I really would love to see you with Tael, Jordan. Did you guys have fun?
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, he's a good kid. He's a good kid. Did you do it in person or in Zoom?
No, in person.
Oh, good, good. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And then would you say, like, when we're doing this with our students, have them do however, like have them do the full minute and then go back and make the corrections?
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think people are getting, they need to come back to the real room, to the main room. Okay. Okay, how did that go, guys? Jose, did you enjoy that?
I did. It was kind of hard at first because I was like, I don't want to make mistakes, but then it got a little bit. Once we got a hang of it, it got easier.
Okay.
It was kind of hard at first because you just thinking about like I don't want to make mistakes at first, but.
Yes. Making mistakes and owning our own mistakes is one of the challenges of life. One of my friends, I've known her since I was in my 30s. Sarah Rose said, you know, every time you make a mistake, Sasha, I'm going to clap, because you don't let yourself make mistakes and you get so angry at yourself. So I understand not wanting to make mistakes. Okay. So, again, I will say, I really want you to do this with your students this week, and work on it, to get them stronger and more automatic with their letters and sounds and even some words. So let's see where we are here. Okay. So if I needed, and I usually do need, to make some operational goals for my students, if I were talking about fluency with individual letters, these are some of the goals that I might have for them. Given a list of consonant graphemes, which means consonant letters, they could be single consonants, consonant digraphs, blends, or clusters. My student will read these graphemes with 95 to 97% accuracy. And then I'd have to establish the rate they're at and then look at the fluency rate and see where they compare with age appropriate fluency. And that would be how I would establish sounds correct per minute. Or I could have the same goal for vowels. So that's when I have my students, I make those kinds of goals for myself, because then I will work on those kinds of skills in my lesson plans every time. So now we're shifting for the last 20 minutes to think about reading words. And there is an article that I put in the Google shared documents, and it comes from not readworks.org. It's from, I can't remember the site, but it's there for you and printed out. And it's a new model for teaching high frequency words. Now, the reason that I want you to read this and understand this is the way that high frequency words, oh, it's in Reading Rockets at their website. I have it right there in front of my face. The reason this is so important is that many teachers that you're going to observe will take those high frequency words, I, it, in, was, you, and they will put them on cards and they will say to their students, memorize. Literally, they'll send home, 10 words a week, and they won't talk about how many sounds are in them. They won't talk about which part of the word plays fair and doesn't play fair. They just say memorize. And what happens is there are too many words to memorize, and that doesn't teach our students how to do it thoughtfully. So this new model is to say, well, how can we marry the skills of phonemic awareness, which are segmenting and then counting the sounds and then saying what letter maps onto each of those sounds? That's the new way of doing it. And yes, there may be one sound in that high frequency word that does not play fair, that doesn't sound like what we expect it to be. But it's only one sound and you don't have to memorize everything. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to think about the words, look for whether those words follow things that we've taught our students, pair it with our lessons, and really in the words of Catherine Pace Miles, say, oh, there are some high frequency words, or there are some words, I'm just going to say words, that are decodable, which means that there's a one-to-one correspondence between the letters and the sounds. And then there are some temporarily irregular words, which I haven't taught you the rule yet. So if I have the word try, if I've taught the letter Y and how it works as a vowel, that's a decodable word. But until I teach the Y and what it sounds like at the end of a word, it's temporarily irregular. Or if I haven't taught that at the end of a one-syllable word, if you have a single vowel, the sound of F is spelled with 2 letters. If I haven't taught that, until I teach it, it's an irregular word that you have to remember that there's 2 F's, not 1. And then there are some words that are permanently irregular. And usually, those words were pronounced differently in different periods of the history of our language. So, the word could didn't used to be pronounced could. It had a different vowel sound and even an L sound. And what happened is we changed the pronunciation of it, but we didn't change the spelling. The word was sounds like it's really wonky, doesn't it? What's the only letter in the word was that there's a one-to-one correspondence with the letter and the sound that you already know? What's the one letter in there? And I see Jordan is doing this, which means the W, right? But in was and if and on and the and a and, those are all called function words. They relate to another word and give us information about content words, but by themselves, they have very little meaning. We have to have a context in which. So if I say was working, that was tells me that it happened in the past. But if I just say was, what does was mean? It out of context, it doesn't mean anything. So many of those function words, the vowel says instead of the sound that you expect. And that's what's happening in the word was. And the S is sounding like its consonant partner, Z. If I talk with kids about this and what the history of a word is, then it makes more sense. They have something to hold on to. They can think about it. So when we are working with students, whether they are high frequency words or not high frequency words, we want to say, is this a decodable word? Can we think about all the sounds and letters and there's a one-to-one correspondence? Is this a word that I haven't taught you the spelling pattern on? And I'll probably tell you how to pronounce it. Or is it a permanently irregular word, and we really have to talk about how many sounds there are, what letters play fair, what's the history of that word, and how can I remember it? It's a different way of looking at words and being able to read and spell them. In the article that I'm asking you to read, which is this one, A New Model for Teaching High Frequency Words, they also say that there are about 10 to 15 high frequency words that you really need to have your kids know in kindergarten because they're in so many of the books. And so one of the things that you want to do is you want to teach them, what the letters and the correspondence between the letters and the sounds is. So in the word the, there's how many sounds? Jose, how many sounds in the word the?
One.
What is that one?
TH.
And TH says the or th. What about the in the? Is that a sound?
Yeah, it sounds like a U, but it's
Exactly.
an E in the word.
So I would teach that, just like I just did with Jose, how many sounds are in it. I put a line for each sound and then what letters map onto that and which one doesn't play fair. The same thing. Oh, this is really interesting. So sometimes we say a house or we can say a house. I've heard both, haven't you? Usually when we're speaking more formally, we say a. And when we're speaking with our friends and we're more informal, we say So we want to talk about that with our students. The word and plays completely fair. Every letter corresponds with the sound. In the word of, both letters don't play fair. So what we need to do with this is talk about them, segment them, put the letters on them, and then play games and read the words a lot until our students become fluent with these words because they're so frequent. Okay, in order to do that job of teaching these high frequency words, your students need to know the names of the letters and how to recognize them and how to form them. They need to know these letters. So they need to at least know the names of the letters and how to form them before you try and teach those really, really, really common high frequency words. Now I don't want to do this right now because it's too late. Okay, let's do, once the students know the single vowels and consonants, they can sort them based on the initial letter and sound. I don't know why these are in here. But when you're teaching lessons 1, 2, 3, and 4, there are different lessons that you could teach them in, and I marked those down, the lessons in which you teach it. So like the and was and for, those are temporarily transparent or temporarily not decodable. But once you teach the rule, then you can teach the high frequency word. Okay, so here's a way of dealing with schwa, like in the, and of. you can teach your kids a little ditty. When you say the word the, I can say the word the, or I can say the word the, but I always spell it T-H-E. And so you could teach that little ditty to your kids. Or A, I can say A, or I can say but I always spell it with the letter A. Of is hard to spell, but not for me. I love to spell of, O-F, O-F, O-F. So making this is almost like a meaningful language experience by doing the ditty. You can have it that you color the part of the word that doesn't make sense, and you can have your kids make pictures with it. Whatever way you can get it, those few words in is really good. Okay. I think that this is I talked about this, but I want you to show you. So we have the word mash. And what you want to do is you want to be able to say, when I listen to the word mash, how many sounds are in the word mash? So, Madeline, in the word mash, how many letters are in the word mash?
There's 4 letters.
How many sounds?
3.
Exactly. So we want to write 3 lines on our paper with our students and then show the M maps onto the first sound, the A maps onto the second sound, and SH maps onto the third sound. The same thing we could do with the word slip. How many letters in the word slip, Brooklyn?
4 letters?
Yes, there are. And how many sounds are in the word slip?
Is it 2?
Actually, there's 4. S, U, I, P. Okay. We have these 2 consonants together, but they're saying a separate sound, aren't they?
Yeah.
And now I have to tell you that one of the things, and it is incorrect, and when I was walking through classrooms last week in Klamath Falls, many programs consider SL to be one sound because it's called a consonant blend, but that is inaccurate. SL is 2 sounds. And so I would prefer that you don't even teach them as a consonant blend, okay? So we would, for the word slip, we would have 4 lines, and then we would put each of the single consonants and the single vowel on each line. Okay? So now, this idea of mapping sounds and letters is really, really, really an important thing. What it is it's like an equation in my mind, an additive equation. We taught the consonants and we taught the vowels. We taught the phonemic awareness activities. And now what we're doing is we're marrying those together, adding those together with words and being able to analyze and think about how the letters and the sounds map onto each other. It's the essence of spelling and reading, isn't it? And we want to show our students that every sound has to correlate with 1 or more letters. That's one of the secrets of teaching reading. So this is what I'd like us to do in the last 5 minutes is I would like you to work with a partner. I would like you to pick 5 words from this list. So I guess you have to take a screenshot of it, or you need to write 5 words down, some from each line. And then I want you together to segment the word, count the sounds, draw the lines for each sound, and then write the letters that represent those phonemes on each line. Got it, guys? Does everybody have their 5 words? Each person should have their separate words. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop